Now, I've been working with Creator VC for a number of years now. I've been reviewing for them, starting with their In Search of Darkness, Volume 1, and I've reviewed Volume 2 and 3. I've reviewed their In Search of Tomorrow, all directed by David Weiner, who I also interviewed. So if you want to check out that interview and see what he has to say about being an independent filmmaker and how to get started and where to go as a documentary filmmaker, check out that interview in the playlist, Filmmaker Interviews. And so I was afforded the opportunity to review their newest documentary called First Person Shooter. And First Person Shooter is, you guessed it, a celebration of gaming for us gamers. From passionate directors David L. Craddock and Christopher Stratton, who are also lifelong gamers themselves. And as a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s, this was right up my alley. As you can tell, I'm a gamer. I love video games. So this, I felt like, was specifically made for me. Now, the film is about 4+ hours long, around 4.5 hours, filled to the brim of over 40 interviews from the heavy hitters in the industry. We have software developers, designers, programmers, such as pioneer John Romero and John Carmack, who very rarely give interviews. So this was a special treat to see what they had to say about their gaming evolution. And also some insight from longtime gamers themselves, such as YouTube's The Video Game Nerd, James Ralph. The documentary is separated by 8 segments spanning over 50 years, starting in 1973 with the creation of the very first online first-person shooter game, Maze War, with interviews from the original developers and programmers, and they go in deep and talk about how they thought up this game in the first place and developed it and where it went from there. The film is also packed with research and insider information on how our favorite games were developed and coded, from the very early games of textured first-person shooter games like Catacombs 3D into more advanced 3D textured gaming with Castle Wolfenstein. And then we dive into the early 90s with everyone's favorite first-person shooter game, Doom. Interviews dive deep into how the movies such as Aliens and Evil Dead heavily influenced Doom, making the game a fully realized, developed sensory overload with all the jump scares and environmental effects, being the first-person shooter horror genre cinematic game. And it was something special back then. We've never played, much less seen a game like Doom before, and I think that's what really kicked off first-person shooter games into the mainstream. And of course, we can't forget the creation of the BFG.
And he said, oh, there's this gun in the game that just obliterates everything. It's called the BFG. And then the dad goes, you know what that stands for? And we're like, what?
Big fucking gun.
And we're like, oh shit, your dad's cool.
This documentary brought back so many fun memories in the early days of internet cafes. Remember those? Playing with friends or whoever showed up. There is so much nostalgia jam-packed into this documentary, and it was just a blast revisiting classic first-person shooter games from Doom, Quake, my personal favorite, Star Wars Dark Forces. I played that game religiously. To console games like Halo, GoldenEye, Rainbow Six, Unreal, and those are just to name a few games that they touch on. This documentary is about the pioneers of the first-person shooter gaming genre, and the 8 different segments really help so you can split up watching the documentary and know where you left off. It's a great documentary, and I highly recommend seeking it out. And the best way, and really the only way right now to do this, is ordering the documentary either digitally or you can even have a physical copy. And there's also a collector's edition available with posters, artwork, and a ton of other swag. You can place your order today at www.fpsdoc.com. I'll also be putting the link down below in the description of this video. Alright guys, well that's my thoughts on the first-person shooter documentary. I've actually been waiting a number of years to finally review this and watch it, and like I said, it was a lot of fun. It brought back a lot of nostalgia vibes. It's definitely worth checking out. So head over to that website so you can see how you can get your copy today. I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to Creator VC for sending us this screener so we can review it for you guys. And as always guys, keep physical media alive. Keep video games alive, keep the entertainment industry alive and well, and we'll see you next time.